concept of digital ID is terrifying. It's essentially this idea that we would remove all anonymity from the internet, and absolutely you would sort of have this digital ID where absolutely everything that you ever do and say and consume online would be tied to your offline identity. This is something that other countries have enacted sort of versions of. It's a deeply authoritarian belief, idea, like we should do everything we can to fight this. Digital ID would completely basically remove anybody's ability to access the internet anonymously. And you're seeing a lot of ideas from people increasingly where they're trying to roll out digital ID. We saw this in the UK first under Keir Starmer, where he ended up backtracking, but he initially really wanted digital ID. Here's one of these articles, basically where the government was going to mandate, digital IDs. We also saw it in, where was it? We also saw it in Australia, where they're actually trying to do digital birth certificates, which is sort of tied to digital ID. It's not just digitizing your birth certificate, it's also like tying your sort of online footprint. So this stuff is pretty dystopian. People rightfully have been fighting back against it. Now, a lot of times they'll be like, oh, well, we're not doing digital ID. We just want to scan your face and do identity verification and create a comprehensive profile for you, of course. That's really bad. As I talked about also, Epstein actually rolled out this digital ID program in a country in Africa, where in Ethiopia, where they harvested the data of 5 million children through digital ID schemes, which were used to train AI. So we want to protect anonymity online. It is such a crucial, it is so crucial. We should have the right to anonymously access information, right? I think we can all agree on that. But a lot of people don't agree on that. A lot of people believe this stupid idea that like removing anonymity from the internet is somehow going to like keep them safe or lead to more child online safety. It's ridiculous. And so I saw this video talking about what happened in India. This is like one of these accounts that's like I think it's like a libertarian type account, but they say, for those of you who think that digital ID sounds convenient, let me warn you what happened in India. And then he talks about it. So let's listen to what this guy has to say.
For those of you who think that digital ID sounds convenient, let me warn you what happened in India, where over 1 billion people were forced into a system like this. It became one of the largest disasters of the century. In India, the government linked people's food rations, pensions, and even hospital access to a digital ID system. The problem? Criminal networks learned how to hack and manipulate biometric data. Which
is, by the way, inevitable, okay? Like, we see what happens. Every single database that can be hacked will be hacked, especially with the rise of AI and the ability to generate code very quickly and generate hacking, programs very quickly because of AI. This is a time when we need to protect our data and actually not roll out these mass digital systems that could, be used to be exploited rather. So I just think it's like hacking is inevitable.
Fingerprints didn't match, or when hackers swapped someone's identity, people were locked out of survival. Entire families were denied food. In just one state, at least 24 people starved to death after being cut off from rations. Some elderly pensioners went months with no income because their IDs were hijacked. Victims reported going to the store only to be told, your fingerprint doesn't match, no food for you. Others went to hospitals and were turned away because their ID had been cloned. Imagine being sick, hungry, or elderly, and a glitch or a hacker takes away your right to live. This wasn't just a glitch here or there. Organized criminal groups exploited the system, stealing benefits, rerouting funds, and selling fake identities. At one point, millions of fake accounts were uncovered, used to siphon money meant for the poor. A system sold as secure ended up creating a black market for identities where the poor suffered and criminals thrived. This is the real danger of digital ID. It's not about safety or protecting children. It's about control and exploitation. Once everything you need to live, food, money, medicine, is tied to a single ID, all it takes is an error or a criminal to cut you off. India's experiment showed us what happens: hunger, fraud, and preventable deaths. Don't think it can't happen elsewhere. Digital ID isn't security. It's a weapon waiting to be used against you.
Okay, so I just thought that again, that was just a horrifying example of, I know he's kind of creepy. Let's not judge somebody's looks, but yes, what he's saying is important, right? What he's saying um, is terrifying, which is that when you have digital ID and then you tie it to certain things, like for instance, SNAP benefits, right, or something like this, or in this case, he's talking about sort of pensioners. So you could imagine a system where like digital ID, to get your social security check or something, right? Like it has to be tied to your digital ID, and your digital ID could be stolen or hacked, or there could just be an error in the system. Like that's the thing that's so scary, is that there are glitches in computer systems, right? And there's no one to call often. There's often no like help support. You just get another AI when you try to sort of get help, especially from the government, right? We don't have like customer service for the government that's really effective. Somebody said we need explicit personality rights. Yeah, I mean, I just think we need rights that protect our privacy, right? We just need privacy and anti-surveillance laws. Why does everything have to be tied to this? Like even just, I think the digitization of health records, like some of it's been good, but a lot of that data has been used to deny people health care. And, with something like digital ID, you could imagine, again, it's not even just like hackers who will use it to exploit and steal stuff that they shouldn't have access to. It's also just like your your entire identity and everything that you've ever read, consumed, engaged with is all tied to your offline identity, right? Yourself. And that's scary because like what if you are reading a lot of articles about depression? Maybe you're just interested. I don't know. You're not depressed yourself. You want to learn more about like some disorder or something, or you're looking things up. Like that information could then be used by a healthcare company. Like we know how data is used against us. And so we want to be able to access information anonymously. And it seems like we're actually moving away from that. And that's really scary. These companies are all pre-complying. We know about Discord. We know about Meta. We know about Google. Now TikTok has introduced AI-powered age checks across Europe amid regulatory pressure. Again, the think of the children stuff. Um, he's talking about India because, guys, a lot of this stuff has happened in India. A lot of really authoritarian policies have been rolled out in India. So he's just saying that like, hey, a lot of this stuff happened in India, and by the way, it was pretty bad actually. And you can read many articles. That I just thought that video was an engaging way to see the information, but you can read articles about it if you want. There's plenty of coverage about what happened in India when they rolled this out. It's been devastating. It was used to deny a lot of people benefits, legitimate benefits, and it ultimately really led to a lot of harm. So an 11-year-old girl died of starvation after her family's access to food rations was canceled. Other deaths have been reported after households were struck from welfare lists because of data errors or missed deadlines. So, these are serious things. And here's what it's really about, right? Is that this digital ID system saved billions in welfare spending by removing people who didn't qualify. And that's also like what so much of this is just about austerity. It's just about, again, like letting people starve to death so you don't have to pay for their benefits because they had their stuff hacked or whatever. So yeah, it's we should have the right to to speak and consume information freely and anonymously, but not if they revoke Section 230, not if they, roll out all of these mass digital ID systems and under the guise of age verification. And what I want people to understand is that they're not doing this um like why they're doing this, right? Because I think a lot of people, again, buy into this nonsense. Think of the children, or social media addiction, social media addiction. We need to mass censor the internet, for social media addiction. Guys, stop falling for this, please. You are literally just manufacturing consent for digital ID. And one thing that I think was sort of heartening is actually they were able to stop it in the UK. So the UK they wanted to roll this out. Keir Starmer still is trying to roll this out with the social media bans for under 16s, because in order to ban kids from social media, you have to do identity verification. And once you do identity verification, you effectively have digital ID. So obviously we should push back against any of that stuff in the United States, but they did stop it in the meantime in the UK. So I saw somebody before saying that, like, oh guys, we just have to accept this is happening. No, we don't. We actually don't. We can stop these things, right? And I think this is actually really cool. In London, they had this big protest. They've been having like IRL protests against digital ID, and they have look at all these like young people that are involved. Look at these people, like, this is awesome. Have you guys ever seen an IRL protest in America against surveillance, against age verification? Have you ever seen any protests in America against age verification? No, you haven't, because we don't have them. We don't protest tech policy. And that's really bad. This is what we should be doing. We should be out in the street saying, no, you're not harvesting our, I don't want to have to scan my information to be online. No, I'm not okay with, this mass surveillance system that's being rolled out. And no, it's not actually about protecting the children. So I really think that, like, we do need these types of protests and actions. And like, I think it's really cool that it's happening in the UK, because I would love to see something like this happen here. We don't have to accept it. There's actually a lot of stuff we can do to fight it, but we have to like actually fight it. And just shows you people don't want this stuff. Nobody wants to live in a mass AI surveillance hellscape, right? But we have to kind of like make our voices heard. And so I just think it's pretty cool, that there's people fighting back. Now, some of the people fighting back, I mean, these look like a lot of kids. It seems cool. And this is like a progressive organization, but there's also like people that are really conservative, and like, again, the libertarians that don't want digital ID, that also don't believe in driver's licenses. Listen, if they want to march against digital ID, that's great. I support the libertarians, but it's cool to see a lot of young people involved in this cause saying this stuff. So, because we know what happens when these systems are rolled out and how dangerous this is. What could national organizations that already exist do to organize? I mean, they could start talking about it. Like, I think what's so frustrating to me is that who on the left is talking about this stuff? Leftist content creators, they don't cover tech policy, or they cover it in a really bad and reactionary way. Leftists, like lawmakers, we barely have any leftist lawmakers, but Democrat lawmakers are all for this stuff. So I think what's cool in the UK is, like, obviously they don't have a two-party system. So their politics are very different. And the UK is a surveillance hellscape, and like they're literally prosecuting people for, again, the Palestine stuff. So like, I'm not saying that everything in the UK is going great, but I do think that like we need people on the left, if you care about your, other people in your progressive and stuff, and you care about privacy, like, we do need to start pressuring people like AOC, people like Bernie Sanders, people like Ro Khanna, who supports the Kids Online Safety Act. Like, we need to, that should be politically a non-starter for anybody on the left to support that stuff. You are supporting an anti-LGBTQ hate bill that will allow for the mass censorship of content online by the Heritage Foundation. The fact that you are trying to position yourself as progressive and you support that, you should be like, people should be yelling at you about that every day. And yet people on the left are not. They're not doing that. They're not really demanding accountability. And that's what needs to change. That's what needs to change. We need people to be like, actually, This is not acceptable. And we're not going to support candidates, by the way, because we're going into the midterms. This is a perfect time to make our voices heard and say, hey, guys, we aren't supporting candidates that are enacting mass surveillance online. That's not what we're here for. You say those people are not leftists. Well, I'm saying the most left people in Congress, but like, yeah, I mean, obviously, like, Bernie Sanders is not a hardcore leftist. He's a Democratic lawmaker. But look at the hardcore leftists. Like, they're very anti-surveillance, but like a lot of them are activists, and sometimes, but even so, I'm talking about like mainstream kind of like issues. Like, we need people to organize around this stuff. I know there are no leftists in American politics, guys, but I'm just saying we got to do what we can. If the UK, look, do you think the UK is super progressive? The UK, I mean, look, I know that Europe is more progressive than America and stuff, but like, if they can get some people out in the streets on this issue, I think we can get some people out in the streets on this issue.